Hey, have you ever wondered how the most famous people in the world communicate without, actually saying a single word? Imagine this.
Hmm.
You haven't been seen in public for 6 months. Just a massive gaping void of time where the entire world has been whispering, speculating, and just agonizing over where you are.
Right, the rumor mill just goes completely out of control.
Exactly. And what's happening behind closed doors, right? Now imagine the moment you finally have to step out that front door, with absolute certainty that every single thread you're wearing, the distance between you and your spouse, the exact shade of your kid's coat, all of it will be broadcast to a billion people.
Yeah, and analyzed by literally everyone.
Right. Historians, body language experts, casual observers on the internet.
Hmm.
So what do you wear? Like, how do you dress for a moment with that much psychological gravity?
It's a huge question.
Stick around till the end, because what I'm about to share will completely change how you think about fashion and public relations. So, don't go anywhere, you're about to discover something awesome. But first, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe, because we've got tons of fun coming your way. Let's dive right in.
Let's do it.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating report that analyzes the highly intentional fashion choices at Kate Middleton's 5th annual Together at Christmas Carol service.
Yeah, it's a brilliant piece of source material.
It really is. And our mission today is basically to decode the unspoken language of this single appearance. We want to understand how a family on the global stage uses, fabric and tailoring as a literal time machine and a tool for crisis management.
Because it's a remarkable case study in visual communication.
Mhm.
I mean, when an institution as scrutinized as the British royal family experiences a prolonged public absence, you can't just handle the return with a simple press release.
Right, people don't really trust a piece of paper anyway.
Exactly. A written statement engages the analytical part of the public's brain, which, immediately invites skepticism and debate.
They'll just pick it apart.
But a meticulously constructed visual, that bypasses the logical filters entirely. It speaks directly to the subconscious. So when we look at the clothing choices they made on December 5th, we are actually looking at a highly sophisticated deployment of semiotics, color theory, and historical anchoring.
Okay, so to understand how this works, I think we need to look at the canvas before we look at the paint, right?
That's a good way to put it.
So the event itself is the Together at Christmas Carol service. It's hosted by Kate Middleton, and it takes place at Westminster Abbey in London.
Right.
And this brings us to the elephant in the room. This marks the entire family's first public outing together: William, Kate, George, Charlotte, and Louis since June.
Yeah, 6 months is an eternity in royal time.
It really is. Now, my initial thought when I was reading this report was, well, it's a Christmas Carol service. You go to a church. Westminster Abbey is a very famous church, so logically it makes sense.
Sure. Are we, I don't know, maybe reading too much into the venue as this grand PR strategy? Couldn't it just be a logistical choice for a holiday event?
I mean, that is a fair initial read, but we really have to look at the mechanics of an information vacuum.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, in public relations, when there is a 6-month void of visual data from a major public figure, human psychology naturally fills that vacuum with worst-case scenarios.
Oh, absolutely. The internet just makes up the wildest theories.
Exactly. Rumors propagate, anxiety builds. To counteract that level of intense, swirling speculation, you cannot just release a casual family photo taken in a living room.
Yeah, I guess that would look a bit defensive.
Right, perhaps even fragile. You have to anchor the return to an immovable, massive institution. And that is why Westminster Abbey is doing so much of the heavy lifting here.
Wow.
It's not just a church, It is a 1,000-year-old stone monolith.
I see where you're going with this. So the physical architecture is literally doing the talking for them. Precisely. I mean, Westminster Abbey is the site of coronations, royal weddings, state funerals. Its literal Gothic stone architecture signals permanence, endurance, and this unyielding tradition.
So when the 5 of them step out in front of those ancient stone walls after a 6-month absence,
The subconscious message being transmitted to the anxious public is, we are still here. The institution is still standing. The foundation is uncracked.
oh, that's wild. The visual weight of the building actually transfers onto the family unit.
Exactly. You borrow the gravity of the building to stabilize your own public image.
That makes a lot of sense. So the stakes for this specific December evening are sky high, and the backdrop is doing the work of establishing permanence. But, the backdrop is just the setting.
Right, the subjects still have to deliver.
Exactly. The actual subjects of the photograph have to carry that narrative forward through their presentation. Which brings us to the most talked about visual of the night, and honestly, where the report really gets into the weeds.
Yeah, this part is fascinating.
I want to zoom in on 10-year-old Princess Charlotte. And hey, make sure to comment below your thoughts because I love hearing from you. And trust me, you don't want to miss the exciting part at the end of the video. It's a game changer. Stay tuned, and let's make this journey unforgettable together.
So with Charlotte, this is where the strategy shifts from institutional permanence to intergenerational storytelling.
Right, so let me set the visual for you, the listener. Charlotte arrives wearing this velvet, long-sleeve navy blue dress. It features a very stark, prominent white collar, and it's paired with matching opaque blue tights and classic black flats. When I first looked at the photos and the source material, something felt slightly, I don't know, anachronistic about it. Like, it's a beautiful dress, but it's a surprisingly mature, heavy silhouette for a 10-year-old in the year 2024.
It definitely felt heavy with context.
Yeah. And then the report drops this massive reveal. This specific outfit is almost an exact replica of a look worn by her late grandmother, Princess Diana.
Yes. The reference point is December 1981. Princess Diana wore an almost identical navy velvet dress with a stark white collar to a dinner at the Royal Festive Hall.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate here for a second. We are talking about a navy blue dress with a white collar.
Sure.
That is practically the uniform of traditional British children's wear. Isn't it entirely possible that Charlotte just, likes the color blue? Or that it was an easy, classic choice from a designer?
It's a valid question.
Right, are we absolutely certain this isn't just a coincidence that's being reverse engineered by obsessive fashion critics?
It is a valid question to ask whether we're projecting meaning onto a coincidence. But in this specific echelon of public life, coincidence is largely a myth.
Really? You don't think they just pick things out of a closet?
No, absolutely not. We have to look at the precision of the mirroring here. We aren't just talking about a vague homage or a similar color palette.
Right, the report was very specific about the detail.
Exactly. We are looking at the specific textile, which is heavy velvet combined with the long sleeve, the tailored waist, and that distinct oversized white collar. And all worn in the exact same month of December.
That is a lot of specific overlaps.
Right, and the royal wardrobe is curated by professionals who are intimately aware of the photographic archives. They know that the moment a member of that family steps out, image recognition software and royal watchers will scan the archives for parallels.
So you're saying they knew exactly what they were doing?
Without a doubt. To put Charlotte in that precise silhouette is to deliberately invite the comparison.
Wow, okay, so assuming it is a highly calculated move, we have to ask why. What is the mechanical function of dressing a 10-year-old girl as a ghost from 1981?
It's a profound statement, really.
It is. When you think about it, wearing your grandmother's vintage jewelry is one thing. That's a quiet nod. But recreating an entire silhouette from over 40 years ago, that's massive.
It functions as a psychological bridge. Let's look at the timeline. December 1981 was a very specific era for Diana.
Okay, what was happening then?
She had just married then, Prince Charles, a few months prior. She was incredibly fresh to the royal scene, navigating this unprecedented massive transition into the global spotlight.
Oh, right, the paparazzi were everywhere.
Exactly. And she was trying to establish her image amidst an absolute frenzy of media attention.
That is a really interesting parallel. Because William and Kate, stepping out after a 6-month absence with the whole family, are also navigating a massive media frenzy and trying to reestablish their footing.
Exactly.
So they are borrowing the visual language of a woman who was in a very similar pressure cooker.
That's the subtext, yes.
Yeah.
But on a broader scale, it's about the mechanics of nostalgia and managing a legacy. I mean, Diana tragically passed away in 1997.
Right.
Yet she remains the most beloved, emotionally resonant figure in modern royal history.
Oh, absolutely. People still adore her.
So by taking a look worn by their most tragic, iconic figure during her earliest, most hopeful days in the spotlight and placing it on the next generation, they are executing a brilliant piece of intergenerational public relations.
It's like they're proving that Diana's influence isn't just relegated to history books or, Netflix dramas.
Precisely. She is a living, breathing influence on the modern royals.
It essentially brings Diana into the family portrait for the evening, but I have to admit, it makes me wonder about the emotional weight of that strategy.
How so?
Well, when Charlotte puts on that velvet dress and that white collar, she is stepping into the legacy of a woman she never even met. A woman whose relationship with the media and the institution was incredibly fraught. It just feels like a heavy mantle for a child to wear.
It is a heavy mantle, even if she doesn't fully grasp the semiotics of it yet. But for the public, the mechanism works flawlessly.
Because it evokes emotion.
Yes, it evokes warmth, memory, and a touch of melancholy, which instantly softens the public stance toward the family.
That makes sense. It's very hard to be cynical or critical of a family when they are presenting you with a visual reminder of a lost loved one.
Exactly. And internally, for the family, it's a way to ensure that William's mother is present at this highly scrutinized Christmas gathering. Remember, they haven't been seen together as a full family unit in half a year.
Right.
By dressing Charlotte in this specific historical replica, they are communicating our family is whole and our history walks with us.
That is a profound way to utilize clothing. It turns a piece of dyed velvet into a literal historical anchor.
It really does.
So the dress anchors them to 1981 and utilizes the protective aura of Diana. But bringing a ghost from the past into the present is risky, isn't it? Like, it can look sad or melancholic or like you are living in the past.
It can, it's not balanced correctly.
Right. So how did they prevent this homage from feeling like a memorial service? And I think that brings us to how Charlotte's outfit functions in the present moment on December 5th, standing outside the Abbey.
Exactly, because she isn't standing alone.
Right. The outfit interacts with what the rest of the family is wearing to create a very specific group dynamic.
And this is where we shift from historical semiotics to the pure physics of color and visual hierarchy. The group dynamic here is ruthlessly calculated.
Let's break down the color palette, because this is where the source material gets really analytical and honestly super interesting.
Yeah, it's a great breakdown.
So we have Charlotte in this dark navy blue velvet, and her styling perfectly matches the navy blue suits worn by her dad, Prince William, and her brothers, Prince George and Prince Louis.
Right.
So you have 4 out of the 5 family members forming a unified, solid navy block. Meanwhile, Kate Middleton stands out completely in a bright green faux fur coat.
Yes.
Now, typically in the high-stakes world of family holiday portraits, whether you're a royal or just trying to get a decent photo for the grandparents, the goal is absolute cohesion.
Usually, yes.
You want everyone in the same color family to look like a united front. But here, the men in Charlotte are a unified navy wall, and Kate is completely breaking the mold. Why the separation?
It looks like a break in the mold, but it's actually a highly structured framing technique.
Okay, frame it for me.
Well, to understand why this works, we have to unpack the mechanics of the color navy blue. In color psychology and sartorial history, navy blue is the ultimate grounding force.
Grounding in what way?
Its roots are literal. It was adopted by the British Royal Navy in the 18th century to project authority and uniformity. Visually, dark blue absorbs light. It does not demand attention, it recedes.
Oh, I see.
By having William, George, Louis, and Charlotte all in navy, they form a visual anchor that physically recedes into the background.
It's almost like a framing trick in photography. If you put a brightly colored subject against a completely uniform dark background, like a vibrant green coat, against a wall of light-absorbing navy blue, the human eye has no choice.
Exactly.
It's forced to look at the green. The family essentially dressed themselves as a living, breathing picture frame for Kate.
That is the exact mechanism at play. They are managing the viewer's gaze. The navy blue serves as the bedrock. And crucially, Charlotte's navy outfit is the one that connects back to Diana.
Oh, wow. I didn't even put that together.
Yeah, so that dark blue background isn't just about looking smart. It's deeply tied to the bloodline and the historical legacy. It says the institution and the history are standing right behind her.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the green coat. By stepping outside that dark, receding color palette and choosing a bright green, Kate instantly establishes herself as the central figure.
Exactly.
But the report notes that it isn't just the color, it's the material. It's a faux fur coat. Why does the texture matter as much as the color in this framing strategy?
Well, texture dictates how light interacts with the garment. A flat wool suit absorbs light evenly. Faux fur catches the light. It has depth.
Right, it looks fuzzy and three-dimensional.
It physically adds volume to the silhouette, taking up more visual space.
Right.
When you combine a vibrant color that reflects light with a texture that adds physical volume, you create a subject that is impossible to ignore.
And she needs to be impossible to ignore because this is her event. It is the 5th annual Together at Christmas Carol service. She is the host, the architect of the evening.
Exactly. The visual contrast highlights her leadership role. If she had worn navy to match William and the children, she would have blended into that unified wall.
And then the whole story would just be about them returning as a group.
Right. The narrative would have been entirely about the family surviving their 6-month absence as a collective huddle.
But by wearing a voluminous, bright green coat, she steps forward visually.
The message shifts from defensive to offensive. It says, "This is my initiative. I'm welcoming you to Westminster Abbey, and my family, the legacy, the bloodline, the future, is here to support me."
Wow.
It allows her to own the space entirely, while keeping the family visually anchored behind her as her support system.
It is brilliant crisis management, and, this specific choice of green is doing a lot of psychological work, too.
Oh, definitely.
Obviously, it's a Christmas service, so green is contextually appropriate, but green is fundamentally the color of growth, of renewal, of vitality.
Yes, renewal is the key word there.
When you are stepping out of a 6-month public absence where people have been whispering about your well-being, stepping out in a vibrant green is a very aggressive, energetic choice.
It is the absolute opposite of hiding. It is a confident, highly visible return. And the texture of the faux fur we discussed doesn't just add volume, it adds a layer of approachability and tactile warmth.
Because the Abbey is so cold.
Exactly. Remember the setting we discussed at the beginning, Westminster Abbey? It is a grand, imposing, cold stone backdrop. A flat, rigid coat would have made her look severe against that stone.
I get it. The faux fur softens the visual.
Right. She is highly visible and projecting vitality, but she still looks warm and welcoming, which perfectly threads the needle for a Christmas Carol service host.
That is just incredible. So when we pull all these threads together and look at this single appearance on December 5th, it is staggering how much dense information is being transmitted without a single microphone being turned on.
It really is a masterclass.
We have the stage of Westminster Abbey bypassing the logical brain to project 1,000-year-old stability in the face of internet rumors. We have a 10-year-old girl in a heavy velvet dress and a white collar acting as a literal time machine back to 1981.
Bringing the immortal protective aura of Princess Diana into the modern era to soften the public's gaze.
Exactly. And we have a masterful use of color theory, a solid wall of light-absorbing navy blue acting as a photographic frame to support a vibrant, light-catching green coat.
Which perfectly balances the weight of family tradition with Kate's dynamic leadership as the host.
It truly changes the way you look at public figures. You start to realize that what looks like a simple family outing on a chilly December evening is actually a highly orchestrated piece of visual art, where every zipper, every hemline, and every color choice is essentially a press release.
It proves that for a family living under this kind of relentless global microscope, fashion isn't frivolous. It is their primary tool for diplomacy, defense, and storytelling.
Right.
And, it leaves us with something quite profound to consider regarding our own daily lives.
Oh, what's that?
Well, obviously, we aren't operating with the same PR machinery or under the same global scrutiny, but clothing remains a universal language.
That's true.
If a 10-year-old velvet dress can broadcast a complex message about legacy, trauma, and continuity across 4 decades, what silent intergenerational messages are you inadvertently sending with the uniform you put on every single morning?
Wow. That is a fascinating question to leave on. Are we dressing to blend into the background, or are we putting on the bright coat to step forward? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you a whole new perspective on the hidden mechanics of what we wear and how we are perceived. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with your friends who love this too. Keep questioning what you see, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.